Today we're taking a look at a curated stack of foundational talking points about climate change.
Hmm.
These are structured for different contexts, from formal speeches all the way to like quick social media posts. And we're going to sort of perform some narrative reverse engineering.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
Our mission, it's less about just listing the facts
Yeah.
and more about analyzing the architecture of the story being told here.
Right.
So if you're trying to get a fast, kind of deep grasp of the core arguments and the language they use to build that sense of urgency,
Yeah.
well, this deep dive should be a shortcut.
Absolutely. We're basically decoding the master script, you could say. What struck me right off the bat was how consistently they take this really complex science and just distill it into universally accessible language.
Yeah.
And the core message, it runs through all these sources. It's one of immediate, almost existential urgency.
Which does raise an interesting question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If the science is so clear, why the need to structure the message quite like this?
You mean, why hammer it home so hard?
Exactly. They clearly feel the point needs making and making forcefully. So we're going to unpack the specific elements they use to create that tone. We'll go from the, tangible evidence right up to those really punchy, memorable slogans.
Okay, let's dive in then. We start with what I'm kind of calling the foundational belief driving these sources, the immediacy principle.
Hmm.
The very first argument is basically, climate change is not a distant threat, it's happening here and now. That statement immediately yanks the conversation out of, like, 2100, some abstract future.
Right into today, onto our kitchen table, as you said. And what's interesting about that as a strategy is its rhetorical job.
Huh.
By saying the planet is warming faster than ever before, it sets up not just a current problem, but an accelerating one.
Ah, okay, so it's getting worse
Yes,
faster.
precisely. That escalation creates this feeling of, a runaway crisis. It pushes the issue beyond just slow policy debates into, like, emergency action territory.
That shift in the timeline from maybe a future problem to a now problem, that really changes the emotional engagement, doesn't it?
Totally.
If it's for our grandkids, maybe we put it off. But if it's happening now...
Action feels mandatory. Exactly. And to make sure this abstract idea of warming really hits home, the sources quickly bring in tangible, physical evidence.
Yeah,
It can give voice, as one source puts it, to the voices of a suffering Earth.
Oh.
And they don't list, 10 different things. They stick to 3 specific and I think highly effective psychological triggers:
Which are?
melting glaciers, rising sea levels, and extreme weather.
Right.
It's a brilliant trio, really, because each one works on a slightly different level. Melting glaciers, it's a powerful visual, iconic symbol of loss.
Yeah, you see the picture.
Rising sea levels,
Mm.
that gives you a measurable, sort of creeping threat, something concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And extreme weather, well, that offers an immediate, visceral, lived experience for many people. Storms, heat waves.
So the message becomes kind of hard to avoid because you can literally see the ice vanishing, measure the water, feel the storms.
You got it. It connects the data points directly to experience, makes the big global trend feel personal.
But they don't stop there, do they? To really seal the deal argument-wise, the messaging goes straight for the highest possible stakes.
A personal connection.
Yeah, stating clearly that the future of our children depends on the choices we make today.
And that statement just perfectly wraps up
Yeah.
the moral, the intergenerational imperative. It shifts the responsibility. It's not just on scientists or governments anymore. It puts it squarely on, well, all of us,
Yeah.
our collective present-day actions.
Right.
The message essentially says, the threat is now. The proof is all around you, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
Okay, so that lays the groundwork. Very effectively, I'd say.
Mm.
Moving from that high-stakes general awareness piece, we then shift into language that's maybe designed for more formal arguments, like essays or speeches.
Yes.
This is where they frame it in the context of the 21st century.
Right. And the opening line there is really key. Framing climate change as one of the greatest challenges facing humanity in the 21st century. By setting the scope as, monumental, generational, it justifies the huge systemic changes they argue have to follow.
And when you get into that more detailed, formal discussion, you absolutely have to define the cause, don't you?
You do.
The sources are very direct about who the culprit is. They point the finger squarely at us. Human activity.
Correct. And classifying it as the anthropogenic cause, meaning, originating from humans, that's vital because it defines the problem and it implies the solution path.
How so?
Well, think about it. If it were just a natural cycle causing it, our main job would be adaptation, right? Coping with it.
Okay.
But if we caused it, then our role has to be mitigation. stopping the activities causing it.
Got it. And the sources usually stick to 3 specific activities to really drive that point home.
Yes, they do. Burning fossil fuels,
Big one.
deforestation,
Land use changes.
and industrial pollution.
Keeping it to those 3 key drivers makes the target pretty clear for the audience, doesn't it?
It really does. Fossil fuels cover energy, transport, industry. Deforestation hits land use, biodiversity, ecosystem loss. And industrial pollution is sort of a broad catch-all. It simplifies this massive economic engine that the sources argue needs a fundamental retooling.
And then the messaging immediately ties the specific human actions to the global impacts we're seeing, making sure the listener gets that direct cause and effect link.
Exactly. We burn the fuel, we cut the trees, and then what happens?
Well, what do the sources emphasize?
They focus heavily on the increasing frequency of the consequences. Things like frequent droughts, floods, heat waves, happening all over the globe.
So it's not just that these things happen, but that they're happening more often.
That's the key element in the messaging here. Frequency. It reinforces that urgency we talked about earlier. The system isn't just, broken. It's operating in a new, much more volatile way. So this whole section basically serves to diagnose the illness, name the causes, and spell out the worsening symptoms.
Which naturally leads us towards the solutions, the path forward.
Right.
Because the messaging isn't just doom and gloom, it has to be about what we do about it. That pivot to action is crucial, otherwise people just feel overwhelmed.
Absolutely. Avoid despair, maintain engagement, and the sources tend to boil down the required actions into 3 key pillars. The first 2 are the ones we hear about most: reducing carbon emissions and adopting renewable energy.
Directly tackling that fossil fuel cause identified earlier.
Exactly. But the third pillar is where I think the perspective on solutions broadens quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Protecting natural ecosystems.
Yeah, that's important because it reminds us the solution isn't just about shiny new tech or stopping pollution.
Precisely. Including that is crucial because it expands the story beyond just technology fixes.
Yeah.
Protecting ecosystems, forests, oceans, wetlands. It gets reframed as an active way to mitigate climate change, not just, preserving nice scenery.
Because they soak up carbon.
Massive carbon sinks. So protecting them is protecting critical natural infrastructure. The fight involves both tech shifts and environmental stewardship.
I also noticed a careful balance in the messaging around solutions between the huge systemic changes needed and the individual contribution. The sources stress the big goal: slow down global warming, ensure a safer, greener planet, but they always seem to loop back to remind the individual that every small action matters.
That dual approach is very strategic, isn't it? It encourages people to push for big policy changes, but also stops individuals feeling totally powerless or paralyzed by the sheer scale of it all.
Yeah, my recycling doesn't matter if corporations don't change.
Right. It tries to bridge that gap. It makes this huge existential goal feel potentially achievable through collective, consistent action. Reinforces that idea of a shared intergenerational duty we talked about earlier.
Okay, now this is where it gets, really interesting and honestly kind of fun to analyze. The shift to social media language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slogans.
We go from these detailed arguments to super punchy, direct lines designed to grab you in, have a second while you're scrolling. Maximum distillation. I was really struck by how they shrink these enormous issues into 5-word slogans. What stands out to you in that rhetorical shift?
Well, this is where you see real communication efficiency, maybe mastery. The goal isn't nuance anymore, it's memory. It's viral spread.
Like tiny little warning signs.
Exactly. Take, there is no planet B. What does that do?
It just shuts down any idea of an escape hatch, right? No backup plan.
Completely. It's definitive,
Oh.
cuts off discussion about, colonizing Mars, whatever. It screams finality, limited options. Very uncompromised.
Super effective for urgency, no plan B.
Then you get the stark consequence, often with that dark humor edge. Act now or swim later.
Ha! Yeah, that one's a blood.
It uses that really visceral image, swimming where you shouldn't be, to suggest catastrophe. It puts a clock on it. Now or never. The choice is binary. Immediate action or, get your floaties ready. A very definite negative outcome.
It definitely plays on fear and self-preservation, but with shocking simplicity.
Yeah. But my favorite, maybe because it's more of an intellectual nudge, is the question. The climate is changing. Why aren't we?
Ooh, yeah, that one makes you think.
It's arguably the most powerful challenge, I think, because it pivots the whole thing. It stops talking about the environment changing and puts the focus squarely on human inertia.
on our resistance to change.
Exactly. Policy failure, behavioral change, resistance. It neatly sidesteps arguing about the climate data itself and just asks, why aren't we adapting?
It's like a little internal critique smuggled inside a caption. Puts human adaptation and policy change right in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm. And then the final instruction sort of ties the whole communication strategy together, doesn't it? Turn awareness into action.
The little emojis seal the deal.
Right. But that phrase, it's the final bridge. It's the call to action. The whole point of everything avoided, building urgency, explaining causes, outlining solutions, it all leads to that command.
It's the instruction manual for the audience. Okay, you get it now. Go do something.
Precisely. After the urgency, the causes, the solutions. This is the what next.
So just to kind of wrap up everything we've looked at today, the sources gave us a clear sort of three-act narrative structure.
Yeah, I think so.
Act 1. Establish immediate, undeniable urgency. Use concrete, visual evidence. Glaciers, seas, storms.
Make it feel real. Make it feel now.
Act 2. Define the problem clearly. Pinpoint specific human causes fossil fuels, deforestation, pollution, and link them directly to those escalating global impacts, especially the frequency.
Diagnose the problem, name the cause, show the symptoms getting worse.
And Act 3. Outline the solutions. Focus on both the big systemic shifts, like cutting emissions, renewables, but also, crucially, the individual role and things like protecting nature.
Balance the big picture and the personal contribution, technology and stewardship. And if we connect all that back to the big picture, this whole communication strategy really hinges on making people feel the necessity of immediate choice and systemic change. Which brings up maybe one final provocative question for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay.
If the sources are right, and this huge 21st century challenge is mainly down to our activities,
Right.
and we're hit with that slogan, the climate is changing, why aren't we? Well, thinking about all the solutions we discussed, which single behavioral or systemic shift do you think is actually the most difficult, psychologically or politically, to pull off at scale right now? Where's the biggest friction point in actually making that change happen?
That is a really good question to reflect on, especially after dissecting all those causes and proposed solutions. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the architecture of climate change communication. We hope this gave you a useful shortcut to understanding the core arguments being made out there today.
Until next time.